Hello Year 4, this is your English lesson for Thursday the 11th of February. We're going to be doing some guided reading together today. So just to start us off, I've got a picture on the screen here for you. So you can see it's a cat looking at this bird. And I've got a few questions for you to work on our retrieval, inference and choice skills. So firstly, what does the cat look like? So all you need to do is look at the cat and tell the people you're with or think to yourself what the cat looks like. For inference, what do you think the cat is thinking? So look carefully at the facial expression on the cat. What do you think it's thinking? And finally, what do you think will happen next? So if you've got an opportunity to discuss this with somebody, either in school or at home, then pause the video now. If not, then just take a few moments to think for yourself and I'll share some ideas in just a moment. Okay, so looking at our retrieval question, so the cat is white, we can see that. A very fluffy, long-haired cat, isn't it? Okay, it's got two pointy ears, we can see a big fluffy tail at the end, and you might notice the eye colour is quite unusual in this cat, so one blue eye and one green eye. Inference then, what do you think the cat is thinking? Well, I think the cat is thinking lunch or something like that. It looks like the cat's about to try and eat the bird, doesn't it? Or wants to catch it. It's in a cat's instinct to try and catch a bird. So I think the cat's thinking about how he's going to catch that bird. And then finally, what do you think will happen next? So in my head, I kind of imagine the cat leaping towards the bird, but the bird managing to fly off away, okay? But you might think something different. So I hope you've had a chance to share your ideas there. So our walk for today is to discuss words and phrases that capture the reader's interest and imagination. So we did work on this in our last guiding reading lesson. If you remember, we were picking words that we liked and explaining why we liked them. So we're going to build on that a bit more and think particularly about this imagination and how we build images in our head. So here's an extract from Escape from Pompeii. We've got a picture here as well. So I'm going to read the extract to you. What I want you to do is have a look at the picture. Does it match what is being described in this extract, okay? On a hillside overlooking the sparkling Bay of Naples, the Roman city of Pompeii glimmered in the sunlight. From his window, young Tranio listened to the humming from bars, taverns and shops around him, and to the tradesmen haggling in the streets below. Beyond the massive city walls, he could see Pompeii's greatest protector looming in the distance. They called it Vesuvius, the gentle mountain. Could anyone feel safer than here? Tranio wondered. Was anything more beautiful? So what do you think? Do the words match the image? So you might agree, build on, or challenge here. So again, pause the video and have a discussion if you can. If you can't, think to yourself and I'll share my ideas. Okay, so I felt it did reflect a lot of the writing because we've got Tranio here, well, I assume it's Tranio here in his window, looking down on those tradesmen haggling in the streets, and you can see people selling things here. In the background, we can see Mount Vesuvius, so we've got the mountain there. Here we've got a little bit of what looks like water, but that's the bit I think we could have a bit more detail because it started off with a really lovely description of the sparkling Bay of Naples, and I didn't feel like that looked like a sparkling bay. So I thought this image did match a lot of the description, but maybe we could improve it a little bit. So I've highlighted some of the words that really sort of sparked my imagination and enabled me to see what the picture would be like in my head. Okay, if I hadn't got this picture in front of me, then these words would help me to imagine the scene in my head. So you're going to use that technique today and do a little bit of highlighting too. So we'll look at that in just a moment. So let's have a look at another extract. So what would you expect to see in this image? I'll read it to you, I'll highlight, or if you haven't got a highlighter at home, you could just underline some of the key descriptive phrases, and then we'll think about what image we see in our head from that description, okay? So I'm going to get my highlighter ready for when I read, and then I can highlight as I go. So, and then in one terrible, endless moment, they heard mighty Mount Vesuvius roar. That is description, isn't it? But it's hard to show something roaring in a picture, so we'll have to think about that. Its top exploded in a scream and flames ripped upwards towards the sky. Okay, so we can definitely show that in a picture, can't we? So I'm going to highlight that. A massive cloud of silver ash rose to the heavens, twisting and bubbling in every direction until everything was in total darkness. Again, really lovely description, and we can definitely use that to help us imagine the scene in our head. I'm actually I'm going to highlight all of that because it's really all quite descriptive, isn't it? Showing what it would have looked like. So let's have a go at drawing it. This is going to be a bit tricky for me doing it on the computer here, but I will have a go. Obviously, it'll be a bit easier for you doing it into your exercise books, okay? So it's top exploded in a scream and flames ripped up towards the sky. So I need to have my volcano, don't I? So I can draw some sort of volcano there. That will be the top of my volcano. I might try and make it a bit more 3D. There you go. And we need its top exploded and flames ripped towards the sky. So I'm going to change to red because we've got flames. So perhaps I'll have some sort of almost like fire coming out like that. Obviously you could colour that in. And then let's read on a massive cloud of silver ash. So I need to change colour again. Now, I'm not sure I'll have silver, but perhaps I could use like a grey. That's quite a good colour for silver, isn't it? A massive cloud of silver ash rose to the heavens, twisting and bubbling in every direction. So you kind of need the smoke billowing, don't you? And it says it's twisting, so perhaps I'll do it sort of like that. And it said it covered everything to make everything dark. So I almost need to make a darker colour, don't I? So I've got my smoke. You might have some more swirls up here maybe to show all that smoke coming, billowing out of that volcano. Must have been terrifying, mustn't it? Okay, so I've got some smoke, silver ash billowing, and it says everything was in total darkness. So I might actually try and colour my background. I might see if I can use a crayon here because it won't be so thick. So if I perhaps do like that to just show that darkness, because it said everything was in total darkness. Okay, so I've just done a quick drawing there, but I hope you feel that that kind of reflects what we've just read in that language. Okay. So we've got another one here. So this is an image a bit like the one we've just drawn, isn't it? They probably haven't used as much darkness here. You can see a bit of dark here. They've got the sea there. I didn't have the sea in mind, so perhaps that's something I could go back and add in, or that's the Bay of Naples, isn't it? So do you think the author and illustrator match the words and the image together here? So it's similar to what we've just drawn, isn't it? We had the flames coming out. We had this smoke and ash sort of swirling around, covering the sky, and then some darkness as well. So just to build on what we're doing, are there any words you would change to match your imagination better? So do you imagine this scene slightly differently? Would you want to change any of the words? And are there any words that interest you more? So any synonyms that you would improve here? So perhaps instead of massive, you might want to use colossal or enormous, something like that. Maybe instead of silver, you'd like to use a different word for the colour. So just have a think, are there any words you would improve on? Okay, so I've got 2 extracts for you here, and I want to think about which words and phrases interest your imagination. Now, this will be different for all of us. So if you're in school and you're chatting with the other children there, or if you're at home chatting with an adult, then you will probably find that you pick out different words and phrases that interest your imagination. Just like last lesson, when we picked which words we liked best, we'll all have different ideas on this. But again, are there any words you would improve on or add? So I won't do this with you because, as I've just said, you'll have different ideas to me. You'll have different words and phrases that interest your imagination. But these are the 2 extracts that we've already looked at together. So you've got some idea of which words interest me and spark my imagination. So I've put those 2 extracts on the daily plan for today, and you can pick one of those for your activity. Okay, so you don't need to do both. You can pick whichever one you want to do. So in this extract, it's going to be quite a calm scene, isn't it? Okay, it's just Tranio, it's an introduction. He's looking out of his window, we're setting the scene there. But in this one, we've got quite a bit more action and a bit more sort of threatening and almost exciting, really, isn't it? With the volcanic eruption there. Okay, so it's up to you which extract you choose to do today. So this is how I'd like you to set your work out. Your task is to complete your own extract, highlighting the words that interest your imagination and by adding extra words or phrases, okay? So in your exercise book, this is what it will look like. I'd like your date and your WALT, nice and neat and underlined. Don't forget small, neat handwriting. Even when you're working at home, okay, we still want you to try and present your work as neatly as you do in school. then pick whichever of the extracts you want, okay? If you're able to print them out, then you can cut them out and glue them into your exercise book, whichever one you've chosen. So for this example, I picked the first one. I've highlighted the words that interest me and spark my imagination. As I said, if you haven't got a highlighter, just use a colour pencil or a gel pen, whatever you've got at home, to identify those words and descriptions that interest you. I've then added in some words that I think could have been improved or sort of spoke more to my imagination. So you can add those. So rather than humming, I've improved and put, well, I've not necessarily improved, I've changed and put raucous. Okay, and I've put chatting as well, rather than haggling. So add some of your own words as well, and then I'd like you to draw the scene, okay? So quite a nice activity for you today. So I'll just recap, there are 2 extracts on the daily plan, you only need to do one of them. So pick whichever one interests your imagination the most. If you can glue it in, if you can't, don't worry about that, just use it on the sheet or on your computer screen, that's fine. You can highlight or underline the words that interest you, add your own words, and then draw it for me, okay? So I've started off drawing here. As I said before, I wanted to improve and have a bit more of the sparkling bay. So I've started off with that in my exercise book, my sparkling bay. So you can do this straight into your exercise books. Use, again, whatever resources you've got. If you've got colour pencils or crayon, then use those at home. So I'd like you to draw the image, thinking carefully about the vocabulary. So make sure it reflects the vocabulary that you've highlighted or underlined. And then to go deeper, if you can you add labels to make links between the text and your imagination? So as I've done here, I've put sparkling bay and an arrow to show that's what I was referring to when I drew that part of my picture. Okay, so quite a nice activity today. You can pick which extract you like, as I've said, and use the words that spark your imagination. As I've said, that will be different for different people. Okay, so I'm really interested to see your pictures at the end of this. It will really show me how you imagine that scene in Pompeii in your head. Okay. So when you have finished, if you're in school, you can take a chance to look at everybody else's drawings. It would be really nice to share those. So have a look around at what other people have drawn and what words or phrases interested them. If you're at home, obviously you won't be able to do that, but you can send me a photograph of your picture. I'd love to see them. Okay, good luck year 4. I look forward to seeing your drawings later. Well done.